has nothing to do with football, and beer does not become athletic by association with football, okay? So, and evolution does not become science because it's stirred into a science book, okay? Evolution's a religion. Now, let's define a few terms. The word evolution has at least 6 different meanings or levels or stages. First, it would have to be cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter. Secondly, there'd have to be chemical evolution. According to the Big Bang Theory, the Big Bang produced hydrogen. Okay, then how did we get all these elements? Do you want me to believe that uranium evolved from hydrogen? They'll say, oh yeah, fusion happens in stars. Well, you got 2 problems now. Number 1, you can't fuse past iron. Number 2, you got a chicken and an egg problem. Did the elements come before the stars? The elements make up the stars, and the stars make up the elements. Which one came first? They got a real chicken and an egg problem when it comes to chemical evolution. Thirdly, there'd have to be stellar evolution. Somehow the stars have to evolve. We've never seen one form. We see stars blow up all the time, called novas or supernovas, and yet there's enough stars out there that are now known. The current last estimate was 70 sextillion stars in the universe that we've observed, which means about 11 trillion per person. Those are the ones we know about. We don't know about the ones that we don't know about, okay? Fourthly, there's going to have to be organic evolution, the origin of life. Somehow life has to get started from non-living material. The evolutionist is still left 200 years behind the times in science. They still believe non-living material can spontaneously generate. That's been proven wrong several hundred years ago. Francisco Redi, Louis Pasteur. Now, if you want to believe that, that's fine. I don't care what you believe, but don't call it science. They'll say, I read Dr. Shermer's book about, oh, they're doing experiments now, trying to do these. Okay, well, you do all the experiments you want, but meanwhile, it hasn't been done, okay? Nobody's made life. And if a bunch of intelligent people do get together and make life, that would prove it takes intelligence to make life. Duh, okay? Number 5, we have what's called macroevolution. That's where you change from one kind of animal to another. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. Now, if you want to believe a dog came from a non-dog, you believe whatever you want, but don't call it science, number 1, and don't make me pay to teach it to all the kids in school like it's science. That's your religion. You teach that in a private school at your expense, okay? Number 6, we have what's called microevolution. I object to the term. I think it's a lousy term, but they use it, so I'll explain it. Microevolution tells us there are variations within the kinds. Big dogs, little dogs, straight hair, curly hair, I agree. That happens. The first 5, though, are purely religious. Nobody's ever observed any of these. So when I talk about evolution tonight, I am not talking about variations within the kind. Speciation. I'm not talking about that. I'm not sure who's deciding when we have a new species anyway. Somebody decided a dog and a wolf are different species. Okay, but a 5-year-old knows they're the same kind of animal. Okay, a horse and a zebra are different species, but they're still the same kind of animal. 4-wheel drive, genuine leather upholstery. Okay? So, evolution theory teaches 20 billion years ago, or sometime in the past like that, there was a big bang where nothing exploded. And then 4.6 billion years ago, the earth cooled down. And then it rained on the rocks for millions of years and turned them into soup, and the soup came alive 3 billion years ago. This is what the books teach, okay? That's the Big Bang Theory. 18 or 20 billion years ago, Big Bang. 4.6 billion years ago, the earth cooled down. Planet Earth cooled and a rocky surface was created. This is what all the textbooks teach, okay? Then as the earth formed, it was hot and it was large pools of bubbling lava, but it slowly cooled down. And then, boys and girls, millions of years of torrential rains created great oceans. And swirling in the waters of the oceans is a bubbling broth of complex chemicals. Progress from a complex chemical soup to a living organism is very slow. Sure is. It don't even happen. That's how slow it is. This guy said the first self-replicating systems must have emerged in this organic soup. So their theory would say 20 billion years ago, Big Bang, 4.6 billion years ago, the earth cooled down, it rained on the rocks for millions of years, turned them into soup, and the soup came alive 3 billion years ago. And so there's Grandpa right there. Okay. Now, there's no question there's a wide variety of dogs in the world. The question is, does that variation we see tell us there is infinite varieties available? No. I don't think the dogs came from a rock 4.6 billion years ago. Okay. So the first 5 are purely religious. Number 6 is science. But they try to skip the first 4 all the time. I see this all the time in textbooks. They try to skip those. Now, evolution, number 5, the first 5 anyway, I think is the dumbest and most dangerous idea in the history of the world. It didn't happen. There's no evidence for it. Let's see. Marxism, evolution leads straight to Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, abortion, communism, Marxism, rejection of logic, and to hell if you don't trust Christ. Okay. Now, Michael Shermer is the editor of Skeptic magazine. He is absolutely correct to be skeptical of some of the dumb things people believe out there. There are some weirdos in this world, folks, okay? You got some here in California. And they believe some strange things. And I think what he does, exposing the illogical stuff that people teach, is great. I wish he would apply that same logic to his own theory of evolution. He's skeptical of everything except the evolution theory. For some reason, he's not skeptical of that. That blows my mind. Now, let's define some terms. In the Skeptic magazine article here, Michael Shermer wrote, August 28, 2003, Brights come out of the closet. As many as you are aware, if you're aware, there's a movement to introduce a new Mimi, a new name for our society, our group, the evolutionists. Instead of calling us non-believers, infidels, heretics, skeptics, humanists, secular humanists, introduced at the Atheist Alliance International Conference last year in Florida, they came across the idea to call themselves the Brights. We are the Brights. He goes through the illustration in his book about how that the gays, picked that term gay so people wouldn't call them queers or fags or something else. And now it's a better term, and they've now gotten political clout because of the less aggressive term. Okay. What is a Bright? He says, a Bright is a person whose worldview is naturalistic. Well, let's define some terms. He says, bright is a good word. I mean cheerful and lively, showing an ability to think, to learn. That's good. But now I'm officially out of the other closet in print. He's a Bright. Okay. Well, the word people used to be called Homo sapiens. In the most recent books, they're calling us Homo sapien. The word sapien means wise. We're the wise man. We're bright. Well, the Bible says that professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Okay? And if you think your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa was a rock, I think you're a fool. Okay? Well, we can help you, though. We're here to help. Let's define some terms. Stupid. Lacking normal intelligence. Foolish. Silly. A stupid idea. Evolution is not even a good theory. It is stupid. Okay? People are welcome to believe whatever they want, but I think it ought to be illegal. It's certainly silly and unfair to make all taxpayers support this one religion in our public school system, and evolution is nothing but a religion. Okay. In his magazine, he said, my real purpose was to understand Gish and the creationists so that I can understand how they can reject the well-confirmed theory called evolution. Well, Michael, we're not rejecting science. We're rejecting the idea that you're stretching this observation of, varieties of dogs to mean a dog came from a rock. We aren't rejecting science. And evolution is not a well-confirmed theory. You've got to define what you're talking about here. Now, I'm not anti-evolution. I'm not an evolution denier, like he says in his book numerous times. I'm for truth and against error. If evidence exists for a theory, show me. But don't use lies to support a theory. By the way, Kent is Welsh for bright. Okay? Just a little bit of trivia there. Texas has laws requiring textbooks to be accurate. So does Florida. So does Wisconsin. So does Alabama. So does California. Textbooks shall be factually accurate. That's all I want is accuracy in textbooks, okay? Minnesota says a teacher shall not deliberately suppress or distort subject matter. Evolution is a dying religion surviving only on tax dollars. It's dead, folks. It didn't happen. Now, the evolution theory is positively anti-science. There's not a shred of real evidence to support the theory other than oft-repeated lies. Now, if you have evidence for evolution, I really want to see it. But I heard some things in the last 25 minutes that Dr. Shermer said that he ought to know, I'm sure he knows, are simply lies. They've been proven wrong years ago. The idea of vestigial structures. Here's the evidence they use for evolution. They got pages and pages of this stuff. This guy says evolution's a fact, not theory. Well, that's a mantra. They say that over and over and over, and pretty soon students start to believe it. Well, it's a fact. I heard it in school over and over. It's got to be true. What do you mean by evolution, first of all? If you mean we all came from a rock, no, that's not a fact. If you mean dogs and wolves have a common ancestor, I would agree with that. That would be a fact.